Hey there everyone, this is a 1960s to 1970s Bassett dresser. It came from our local Habitat for Humanity, and I actually got this dresser for free because I did a completely different dresser for them for their annual fundraiser, and they gave this to me as a thank you for doing that for them. As you can see, it's in pretty decent shape. It doesn't have a whole lot of damage to it. Cosmetically, yes, it's once upon a time probably was white and it had some kind of varnish over top that has since yellowed, but we're going to take care of all of that. First things first, I'll always remove the hardware, and for this project I'm not going to be reusing these. I personally love them, but I feel like these drawers need a wider handle, especially on the bottom drawers. So I'm going to be switching from a 5 to a 7 inch. I usually start with Krud Kutter and I wipe the entire dresser down, and then I also use their degreaser wipes from Heirloom that I use, and then I vacuum all inside the dresser cavity so everything is completely kind of like a clean slate, so I can get started on sanding. If you do not do that before you sand, any grease or anything that's in the dresser will push it further into the wood when you sand it. So it's a super important step to not skip. I always start with a 120 grit, and then I move for my final pass a 180. If you go more than that, say 220, it could close up the wood pores and it could prevent your stain or your wash or whatever you're putting on to absorb evenly. So I always stop at 180. And now I am filling these 5-inch hole centers with fluted dowel pins. Once it's sanded and black wash and the new hardware is on there, you won't even see these at all. So I'm not too worried about it matching or anything because they're going to be covered up. And here again, I'm starting with 120, ending with 180. And here's what the drawers all look like, completely sanded with their dowel pins in and ready for the next step. And then for the base, it didn't have any major gouges or anything, but it did have a lot of superficial scratches and it had some chips in it. So I have usually used PC Woody. It's a 2-part, so you mix part A, part B equally, and then you apply it, and then you let it set for 24 hours so it hardens. It hardens just like wood. And then I come in with my orbital sander, 120 grit, and get the bulk of it sanded down, and then I'll come in with my finger sander, usually at 180, just to get any little parts that are left and kind of more detail work, because you want it super smooth in the end. I also scuff sanded the rest of the base so I can make sure that the entire surface it didn't have any like paint that was going to chip off later. I wanted it just smooth and ready for paint. And then I added new furniture sliders to the base. And before I black wash the drawers, I need to drill the new holes for the new hardware. And then before I paint the base, I've got it all taped up and ready to go. So this is the paint that I'm using. It is an all-in-one paint by Heirloom called Warm Embers. It's like a warm kind of charcoal color. It's not a black, even though it kind of looks like that. I start with a brush and I just completely cover it, and then I go back over it with the roller. Both the brush and the roller are from Heirloom. They're Heirloom products. And then for this, I did 2 coats, and I think I did some little touch-ups here and there at the end, but 2 coats covered it really well. And then before black washing the top and the drawer fronts, I went over them really well with mineral spirits, making sure I got everything, all of the old finish off, making sure I got everything sanded smoothly before I moved on to the next step. If you do not get all the old finish off before you start doing a black wash, the black wash will not take in parts of the drawer front or the top or whatever you're putting it on. So it's super important to make sure that you've got it completely like sanded clean. So before I did a black wash on the top and the drawers, I wanted to make sure that I could do it and do it right, and it would look and see how it would look actually. So this is one of the drawer fronts I kind of did a test on just to see what the wash would look like, and this is what the hardware will look like of the two, because you got to kind of see the whole thing before you make a full decision, because once you do it, it's, you know, you got to commit. So for the black wash, I did 1 part Heirloom warm Embers to 2 parts water. For the total top and the drawers, I mixed up 2 tablespoons of paint to 4 tablespoons of water. Stirred it up. The best technique, I will tell you, to put it on evenly is to put it on with a brush. I did the drawers with a rag and I did the top with a brush, and I ended up having to sand the drawers back down because it just was not even the way the rag put it on. I just couldn't get an even enough finish, and it drove me crazy. So I didn't sand them completely back down, but I sanded them back down enough so they were all back on even, and then I took a brush with a black wash for the drawers as well. And then as soon as you put it on, I just wiped it right directly off. Make sure you wipe with the grain when you're putting it on. Make sure you get an even cover, and then make sure you wipe it off evenly with the grain to get it off. And then you are going to let it dry for at least 24 hours before you put the top coat on. If you do not, because it's water-based, it will start pulling up the wash, just like it would a stain. So make sure, very important, to let it dry completely before. And I think with oil, if you use an oil-based top coat, it's even longer. So while that's drying, I'm gonna start lining the drawers. Now I've used a lot of different types of peel and stick and different wallpapers with patterns and different things, but I have been really drawn to this. It's like a light brown grass cloth peel and stick. It almost has like a fabric texture to it. I get it on Amazon, and it comes in a 24-inch wide, which most drawers are that or under. So I don't have to make multiple cuts to, you know, get it to stretch across a large wide drawer. And it also comes in really long lengths. I think it's like 400 inches, and I paid like $40 for it. And I've done, I don't even know how many dressers with it. It's really easy to work with. It's very forgiving, and I really like it a lot. It goes with a lot of different furniture. So now my top and my drawer fronts are dry and ready for top coat. I'm using General Finishes High Performance Gloss Coat for 2 coats, and then my final coat will be in flat. And then I do a quick sand between coats, not on my last coat, but between the gloss coat and the gloss coat and the flat at 320 grit. Wipe it clean and go to the next. I let each coat dry at least 2 hours between. The flat coat, I like to use this mini velour brush, roller brush. It leaves no lint. It's really easy. It gives a really smooth finish in the end. And I really like the way it lays on the top coat. It's very forgiving. General Finishes High Performance. It levels as long as you coat it, let it do its things. Don't overwork it. Once you get it on there, leave it. Don't touch it. Don't overwork it. And now once that's completely dry, I get to put on the knobs and the cabinet pulls. The knobs and the cabinet pulls are both antique brass, but the knobs are 1.5 inch. And then the new cabinet pulls, they went from a 5-inch, the original, to the new hole centers of 7.6. I like the wider. I feel like it gives it a little bit more luxury, kind of pulls your eye across the drawer. and I feel like it just fits the drawer size better. The drawers were, I think, like 24 inches wide, so it needed a little wider cabinet pull. So here's my staging spot for now. It's a little 5 by 7 foot area. It's got the window light to the right. That's all I used for light. You can see this mop that I use. I took the bottom part of it off, and that's what I used to make the carpet have no footprints in it, because I like walk back and forth. And for staging, I used this larger pot. I've had these for probably 10 years. I bought it at a flea market. I've never used them, so I thought, why not now? So I spray painted them completely black, and then I used this textured paint by Rust-Oleum in a brown color. And I will tell you that that texture spray paint was actually the worst. Sorry, Rust-Oleum, but it kept clogging constantly. It was very frustrating, and I will likely not use it again, but it worked for this project, and they did turn out beautifully after I got it, sprayed out of the bottle. Well, here's what they look like in the end. I think they look fabulous. Would I use it again? No, but it did the job. And I think it looks incredible with this dresser, so I'm happy with how they turned out. And it looks pretty cool on top of the dresser. It's got a little greenery in there, and then I added a couple of books, and globe is like a 1950s globe that I had got off Goodwill.com and at an auction. And then the print is from a good friend of mine, a photographer. His name's Scott Olson. So all together, got it staged, got it done. I've got it listed for $475 just because of our area. And it's one thing you got to remember. It's not just about what it's worth to anybody. It's got to be worth what it is in your area for your market. So keep that in mind. Thanks for watching.